Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. Welcome to the Top Producer Show. My name is Brandy, and this is Jeff. And the whole purpose of the show is to show you what it actually takes to become a top producer. Now, this is mainly geared towards network marketing. However, all of the methods that we use can be used in traditional businesses because we have built network marketing as well as have two other businesses that are more traditional. We have a holistic health practice and we have a real estate company. And we've also shown a lot of other people in many other businesses how to use some of these methods to become a top producer in their industry. So we are going over the book Atomic Habits, and we are on chapter 9 today with the role of family and friends in shaping your habits. So the seductive pull of social norms. So we don't choose our earlier habits, we imitate them. So the people that were like, we imitate it from mom and dad, where we go to school, who are we around. I grew up in a really small town, so I imitated a lot of my behavior based on all the people that were around me. So social norms are the invisible rules that guide your behavior each day. You're always keeping them in mind, even if you're not actually really thinking about them. It's just because it's a habit, you don't really think about it and you just do it. So kind of like Easter is this Sunday, and every Easter I remember my grandma saying, hey, everybody needs to get out their nice Easter clothes, because it was tradition in my family where you had to dress up for Easter. The girls had their Easter dresses and the boys had their Easter outfits. Funny enough, we only had 2 boys in the family, so I don't even remember what they wore. But it was tradition, and to this day, I actually still, as a habit, will still do that for Easter. And it's kind of funny because I realized that not everybody does that. And then I was just like, oh, but it's still a habit of mine that I'll still do that because that's what we've always done. So often you follow the habits of your culture without thinking, without questioning, and sometimes without even remembering why you do it in the first place. So everyone wants to belong somewhere. That is basic human need. Like ever since we were in caves, if you left the cave, you did not survive. So you want to be in a tribe of people where you belong, so that way you can survive. And behaviors are attractive when they help us fit in. Some people will change their behavior to be able to fit into a specific group because they do not want to be by themselves. So we imitate the habits of 3 groups when it comes to this: the people who are close, the many, and the powerful. So this part I'm actually going to turn over to Jeff because it is a smaller chapter. So I'm going to turn this over to you. Gotcha. Or if you want to give some of your takeaways first and then go into that part.
Yeah, so basically there was a really good story. He said a genius is not born but educated and trained. This was Laszlo Pogar. And what he did is he's like, hey, if it's really trainable, then what we do is we set up the environment and we set up everything around us to train geniuses. Is it possible to train a genius? And the result was, yes, it was possible. What he did is he chose chess. And he's like, we're going to set up our house about chess, books with chess. We're going to have chess sessions. We're going to have chess teachings. We're going to have... Well, anyway, all 3 of his kids went on to be like chess champions. All 3 of them. One of them won the world championship. They started between 3 and 5 years old and just dominated. The youngest ended up being the best at it because, of course, she had 2 sisters who were also good at it. And that's what they did as a family. Just proving that genius is not something that you're just born with. It's something that can be taught. The problem is most of us have been taught how to be broke, or taught how to suffer, or taught how to be depressed, because we're following what, the people who are around, right? Seductive pulls of social norms. It says humans are herd animals, which is so true. Always beware of a large amount of stupid people going in any direction. That was not in his book, but that's just the truth. We want to fit in, we want to bond with others, and we want to earn the respect and approval of our peers. We survived because we were in a tribe, like Brandy said. One of the deepest human desires is to belong. To belong. So if you look at Maslow's, triangle of or pyramid of human desire or human needs, the first one is basics: food, water, shelter, sex. The second level is safety and security. The third level is belonging. It's a basic human need. You cannot get out of it. People are like, oh, I'm antisocial. Yeah, you are to a point, but you still want to hang out with people most of the time. Just kind of how it works. And you want the approval. Even if you don't want to hang out with them, you want their approval. Which is one of the main things that holds people back in business and everything else. Because they're like, oh, do people like me? You know, if you'll just like me. I don't think they like me because I'm doing this. So then they quit. We don't choose our earliest habits. We imitate them. Again, Brady said we get them from family. We get them from friends. We get them from, maybe the church or synagogue or mosque or wherever you attend. Maybe we get them from grandparents if we're around them a lot. We get them from our neighbors. That's what happens. I mean, if everybody in town wears cowboy boots, chances are you're wearing cowboy boots too. Brandy grew up on a farm, so that's the way it was.
And we did.
So family, friends, community, yes. Holidays, we celebrate, and down to the point of how much money is the social norm to spend on somebody, right? Well, I'm not spending. I remember, years ago, my mom said, I'm not spending more than $100 on anybody. And that was just the social norm. So when I got to that point, and I heard other people talk about things that they were doing, I was like, well, that seems weird to me. Why would you? I've never heard anybody spend $2,000, $10,000 buy somebody a car. Like, that was weird to me. But it's normal to other people. Most people, the habits of the culture, they do the habits of the culture without even thinking, without even questioning, and sometimes without even remembering they're doing it, because a lot of it's subconscious programming. So we typically imitate the three groups: the closest to us, which would be our family, friends; the many, like if everybody in town is doing it, you're probably gonna, especially like in school, there would be certain things like when we were in school, everybody rolled their pant leg up and pegged their pant leg. I don't know. We all thought we were going to get our pants stuck in bicycle chains or some shit. I don't know. It was just like, it was a norm thing. It was probably made popular by some band. That's just my guess. There were a lot of boy bands back then, and that was probably popular. So everybody did it. Girls, guys, it was just the norm. Everybody wore a certain line of clothing. Everybody did it. And some of that stuff was hideous. So beware of the many, and then the powerful people who have influence. So if you ever wonder why they parade famous people, anytime there's an issue of any kind, good issue, bad issue, anytime they're trying to pass stuff, they'll go out to different people. And Dave Chappelle has actually brought this up in many cases. He's like, the Twin Towers went down and MTV scrolls out to DMX. DMX, what do you think? He's like, He's like, I don't give a what DMX thinks about. He's like, man, can we talk to somebody that actually knows what the hell's going on? But what they started learning, meaning the media started learning who influences the most people. We're just going to throw that, no matter how stupid they are, we're going to give them the lines. We're going to ask them the questions in the order that we get the answer we want. And now we can influence people in any direction without thought. People will just back. And, that actually comes from Hitler. If you guys want to know where it comes from Hitler. Hitler said if you tell a lie over and over and over again, people will believe it without question and won't even go look it up. They won't even go look it up. They're just like, oh, I see it on TV all the time. It must be true. Well, beware of any time they're trying to force an agenda on you. Because anytime they're really pushing the agenda, it typically, they're telling the lie over and over again. So, imitating the close. We pick up habits of those around us. We copy what they do: body posture, voice tone, vocabulary. So if everybody cursed in your household, you're going to curse too. If everybody went to church and talked about God, you're probably went to church and talked about God too. It's not good or bad. It just is what it is, right? If a friend became obese, this was crazy. If a friend of yours became obese, they did this study and found that you would be 57% more likely to become obese too. So this goes back to the principle that I heard from Jim Rohn first. He's like, you become like the 5 people you hang out with. John Maxwell talked about this as well. And then Dan Pena, which, he's both good and bad. You take it with a grain of salt. Dan Pena said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And what he's saying is you're going to imitate whatever they do. You're going to make the money they make. You're going to talk to the family they make. I know a couple people jumped on. I can't even see who it is. Sab, how are you? We got all kinds of people. Anthony Manaya, what's up, man? So one of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where the desired behavior is the normal behavior. If you want to kick ass and take names, you've got to get around people who kick ass and take names. You're not going to do it hanging out with people who are shy, who are scared, who are depressed, it's going to be very hard for you to change that habit. You've got to get around people. And now it's easier than ever. Why? Because social media. Now it's easier than ever. It's easier because you can pick up the phone, you can jump online. And here's the thing. Sometimes you can't get to these people. You can't get to the movers and shakers right away. But there is a path, and this is something we teach inside of what we do. There is a path to influence. And what I mean, a path to influence is there's certain things you can do where you start getting around more and more and more influential people to the point where instead of you always reaching out to them, they start reaching out to you. That's the breakthrough. If you want to know where the first breakthrough is, it's when the people who are much wealthier than you are, if you're in business, we're talking business, right? If the people who are more successful than you, the wealthier than you, higher levels than you, and whatever company you're in, when they start reaching out to you and asking you, that's when you broke through. You've built a friendship, you've built a connection, they know who you are, they know what's going on, and you might have just this much of a specialty in something, and they're like, hey, what do you think? That's a breakthrough. So one of the most effective habits you can do is build better habits and then get around better people. The easiest way to build that habit is get around better people. New habits seem to achievable when you see others doing it every day. So I didn't grow up around people who could sell. I didn't grow up around people who could close. I didn't grow up around people who could recruit and influence. I just didn't grow up around these people. What ended up happening is I saw a business, I got excited about the opportunity to build something, but here's the problem. You had to know how to sell, you had to know how to close, and you had to know how to influence and recruit people. And I didn't have those skills. So what I had to do is, that's why, a lot of these companies say, come to this meeting, like, oh my gosh, why do I want, here's the reason they want you at the meeting. They want you at the meeting, not because of the information, but because of the habits and the behaviors of the successful people at the meeting. You're not getting that at home on your couch. You're not getting that at work. You're not getting that when you go out with your kids. You're not getting that when you go out to the bar. Pause due to poor connection. There's a lot of poor connections here. I don't know. We're talking about internet connections. So nothing sustains motivation better than belonging to a tribe. If you want people to stick with it longer, you get them involved in the environment. That's the meeting system inside of direct sales, network marketing, MLM, whatever you want to call it. That's the idea behind martial arts. Hey, we're going to get together on a weekly basis, because they don't train people one-on-one. They train people in groups. They said, look, if you're white belt all the way up to whatever the middle belt is, different trainings have different things, but typically it's white belt up to usually like brown belt, which in our system was like second to, and then all of a sudden there's black belt classes and above. Now, why would there be black belt classes and above? It's inclusion, exclusion. You're excluding the people that don't have the qualifications. You're including the people who do, but then you're pointing out anybody can get there. Anybody can get there. You guys want to be in that group? You want to be in the select group? If you want to be in the few, there's a bunch of people who start. I guarantee half the people on here have some kind of uniform or some kind of musical instrument or some kind of gym membership. We all sign up for stuff, but there's very few people that master it and go on to kind of be impressive, right? There's very few people that learn any kind of an art to the point of mastery. And those are the people you really want to get around. If you get a lot of those people together, what this does is those stories of, hey, it took me this long, because everybody is going to take a different time to get there. You shorten the distance, the more people you end up having go, because belief raises higher and higher and higher. And somebody's like, oh, you did it in 2 years? I bet I can do it in 18 months. Oh, you did it in 18 months? I bet I can do it in 15, and then 12. And then you'll have people accomplishing what took some people years. They'll accomplish in months. That's how it works. That sounded like Jim Rohn, didn't it? That was by accident. I didn't even think about that until
You
after.
have been listening to him a lot lately.
No,
too.
I haven't.
I thought I heard you listening to him the other day.
I listened to him once in the last 6 months.
Change
from, so here's the idea. You want to change from a me mentality to a we mentality. When you go out and you're going to build a business, it's not just about me, it's about us, it's about all of us, it's about the we, the collective. Change I to us. You want as many people around as possible who are going through and sharing the same journey. But here's the thing, what is the skill set needed and the mindset needed? So this is more mindset stuff. What is the skill set needed to recruit people? What's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3, what's step 4? Because a lot of people are like, well, you just go talk to people. Well, let me ask you a question. If you just go talk to people and recruit people, how's that working out for you? How's that working? Are you bringing in a lot of people? Are you recruiting over 5 people a month, every month, consistently, just talking to people? Well, if you're not, then your method isn't working, right? If it is working, there are probably steps that you're using. My question is are you doing something you can turn around and hand somebody in a 20 to 40, maybe 30 to 45 minute time frame? If you can't train somebody on what you're doing in 45 minutes, whatever you're doing is not duplicatable. Sorry, it's not duplicatable. It has to be transferred automatically if you want it to go fast. What does fast mean? Fast means I can teach somebody like right now at noon, and they can go out and recruit somebody by 3 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, somebody can go out and recruit somebody by 5 o'clock. By 5 o'clock, somebody can go out and recruit somebody by 7, by 9. And then all of a sudden, we can skip out of state. We can skip out of time zone. In some cases, we can skip out of country, and it's all the same day. It's all the same day. That's duplication. Now, there's a second thing that goes along with duplication, which is belief. Belief that you can do it. So the belief part has to do with this. It has to do with the habits in the community and how you set that up. Because if you bring people to a meeting, whether it's 30, 40, 50 people, and you hear testimonials at the end of 10 or 15 people going, yeah, I did it. I sold my first 1, sold my first 2. I got my 3 people, the first week, the first day. The longer it takes, what happens is the belief of going fast goes down. The faster it happens, the more belief of going fast goes up. So you really want to work really hard for the stories of just going fast, going fast, going fast. It's easy, it's easy, it's easy. As long as you have the steps of what it takes to make it easy. So that's what we have for this chapter. That's chapter 9. Tomorrow's chapter 10. If you want information like this, obviously join, subscribe to what we're doing. We do this Monday through Friday, every day at noon Eastern Central Time. So you want to get that out to people. And really, here's the reason we're not doing it to market and sell. We're doing it because I want to be consistent at reading and learning this material. So what I do is I get a book and I open it up and I start reading and I take notes on it. And I started doing this and I started creating a library. And one thing that happened is I started teaching the stuff because it was easy, because I had already written it down and I already knew what it was because I had studied it. The problem was I was inconsistent with it. I would read 20 books like in a very short amount of time, and then I wouldn't read anything for a month or 2 or 3, And then all of a sudden I would read a couple, and then I wouldn't read anything for a little while. And then I was just up and down. It just depended on what's going on. And what I wanted to do is start to create this consistency. So we started years ago. I worked with Bess McCarty, and we started the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, and that's what started. I was like, man, this year we got through over 24 books, like back to back. We did that for 2 years, 2.5, I think.
Yeah,
and
2.5.
And then we got away from it. And then Brandy and I started doing it and kind of brought it back, and we did it for a while. And then, there was some company issues, so we had to switch things around, and it was like, hey, this doesn't make sense to do right now. But as soon as we kind of got back at driving and we created my leadership network, the coaching company, I was like, it totally makes sense to do this again and lay everything out and get moving. So that is what we're doing, and that's why we're here. It's really for us. It's really for us. You guys just kind of get the benefit of, the consistency that we wanted to create. And with that being said, if you're looking for leads, if you're looking for help, if you're looking for coaching, if you want to know why you're stuck or where you're stuck and what to do next, I'm basically offering a 45-minute coaching session. The way that you basically get the 45-minute coaching session is you go to joinmyleadershipnetwork.com and you go click the join button and you fill out a profile. You don't have to buy anything. Once that comes through, I'll get an email and then I will get in touch with you and we'll set up a time to talk and figure out, where you're at. If you need leads, I'll show you a couple different sources of leads that we're using, some of which are free, some cost money, depending on, where you're at and what you want to do. And then from there, you can make that decision. So tomorrow we'll be on chapter 10.
Yep.
What else?
So this video will also be uploaded to YouTube, so that way if you guys want to go back and rewatch it later, you are more than welcome to. So you want to make sure you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Top Producer Show. And this is also being broadcast on Instagram. And we also are going to be having stuff posted on TikTok. So not from this show, but we're going to be having some small little tidbit trainings showing up on there as well. So if you'd like to follow us there, feel free. So with that, that is what you got.
I just realized I didn't finish my notes. I just got to the end of a page. So that was a good intermission, right? Imitating the many. So this is the second part of this show. Imitating the many.
Part 2.
How to manipulate people. It says show them a lie over and over again and have influential people back it, that lie long enough. Soon the average people will doubt and question what they even see. Wow. The more people buy into the lie, the easier it is to convince the newest person. Whenever we are unsure of how to act, we look to the group to guide our behavior, which is both good and bad, right? It's good if you're trying to manipulate people into success. It's bad if you're trying to manipulate people into socialism and poverty. Because socialism does equal everything out. Everybody is equally poor. That's basically how it works. There is tremendous internal pressure to comply with the norms of the group. This is how world leaders do things, is they get you to believe certain things and they keep pushing it from different angles. They'll bring in sports, they'll bring in celebrities, they'll bring in news, they'll bring in a little girl who's 14 who cries in front of you.
Yeah. They bring in the doctors who were paid to be there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Scientists and doctors are great. When they're on the staff, right? There's tremendous internal pressure to comply with norms of groups. So it says most days we'd rather be wrong with the crowd than be right with ourselves. Meaning we would rather follow the crowd than actually see with our own eyes and say, hey, I don't think that's right. No. So being quiet, I heard this a long time ago. Dan Pena says, being quiet is the same thing as accepting whatever they said. If you're silent, when people say stuff and you're completely silent, it's as if you're agreeing with them. Now, you don't have to be mean, ugly, and say, one way to do it is say, isn't that interesting? Didn't anybody ever think about this before you guys talked? Because what it does is it throws out, you're not saying what's wrong. That's key. You don't say, hey, this is why you're wrong. You say, that's interesting. Didn't you ever think about that before you believed it? And then what happens is they have to justify it. And if they can't come up with the reason, it's good. Guys, it's so good. So you can learn to do this in different things. In business, we're like, people are like, oh, all those things are perfect. Really? That's interesting. Why would you say that? Now all of a sudden they have to justify it. They get to tell you why they think that. Well, because everybody, this and the other thing. Do you have a background in this? No. Have you ever worked for a company that did this? No. So where are you getting your information from? Well, it's just what I think, what I feel. Well, where did you learn that from? Do you know that's correct, or is that just a guess? Because you guess about, because people guess about everything. You guess about your bills, you guess about your debt, you guess about your weight, you guess about your health. People don't go actually check. Oh, I think I gained a little weight. You think? Did you get on the scale and know? Or is it just a guess? Well, I can't fit into my pants and this, it's just people justify all kinds of stuff. But when you make them come up with the answer, that's when it gets really interesting. There's some really powerful, really powerful vocabulary and social skills you can learn if you really want to take somebody from completely negative to completely positive in a 45-minute time frame. And it's really, really easy to do once you know how to do it. The reason I don't teach it all the time is because it can be used for good. It can also be used for bad. So until I get to know people well enough, I am not teaching them that because, I've seen it go wrong many times. So imitating the powerful, humans everywhere pursue power, prestige, and status. Because what happens is you start moving up the Maslow's law, and you get the basics covered, you get safety and security covered, you get belonging covered, you're setting goals. Now all of a sudden you have a choice. You can either help people or you can try to basically maintain your position. If you're trying to maintain your position, that's what he's talking about, is pursuing power, prestige, and status. We all want pins, medals, plaques. We want public recognition. This is good to know. I mean, Char's on here, one of the #1 recruiters that I've ever seen. People like to hear that. And when you start pointing out, who's here, Anthony Manaya was over here a little while ago. I don't know if he's still on, but he was over here on Instagram a little while ago. Somebody that I worked with when he first started in business. He was still in high school. And I was able to pick him out. It was pretty easy. I was like, we were having a conversation with some high up leaders, and they were talking about, who your top 25 is and this, that, and the other thing. And his brother was on the team, and one of the guys I worked with is like, oh man, his brother, blah, 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 blah. I said, no. I said, I mean, he's really good, but his younger brother, Anthony, would probably outdo all of us. I was able to pick this out in several situations. I picked it out for Sherry Babai. I picked it out for Joe Valenzuela. I saw it years before. And it is just something that if you're out recruiting enough, if you're out team building enough, these weren't people who are doing anything at the time. But I was able to see it way before it actually happened. Because, you can just see certain people want certain things, and you can see the desire, and they're showing up, and their ability to learn and take information in. And it's when you can take information in and turn and focus it, and then the next question isn't the same damn question that they asked you last time. That's one of the keys, guys, to figuring out who's moving forward and who's not. If you have people asking you the same thing over and over and over again, what that means is there's no forward, they're not connecting the dots, or they're just lazy. They're so lazy, they just want the same answer over and over and over again. Okay, which direction, left or right? It's always been right. Now, I'm not talking political, but I'm just talking about like directions, like driving. It's always been right. I've told you every time it's right. So by keep asking me, here's an easy way to fix that. Say the next time you ask me this question, you owe me $300. Because I make $300 an hour coaching people. So the next time you ask me the same question, you owe me $300. So you either get it right now, or the next time you go to ask, it's $300, or we're not talking anymore. It fixes the situation really, really fast. Because once it's going to cost somebody something, it's amazing how fast they learn.
Mm-hmm. And you're also able to pick out who's just there to hang out. Because there are just some people on your team that are going to do that. Now, you may love that. You may hate that. Some people get really irritated. They're like, well, I don't want any of those people on my team because I want just producers. I want only people who are going to produce. And I'm like, well, that is too bad because that's 80% of your team. 97% of your team are people who are just going to hang out. They just want to be there. They just want to be with the crowd. And you know what? That's okay. You want those people because some of those people are really cool. And they just create a really nice environment. They're friendly. They show up to all the events. They talk to everybody. They'll help out at the event. They're great people to have on your team. So you have to, you have no choice. They're part of building the business. But recognizing them so that way you know who's going to take up your time. They're not bad to have. You just got to be able to recognize them.
Yep. So once we fit into any group, once we fit into any club, once we fit into any business, then what happens is we look for ways to stand out. This is why we're all nuts. We all want absolute certainty until we get absolute certainty. As soon as we have absolute certainty, then we want variety. And that's why we're nuts. Shamala's here. Hello. So that's what we have for today. Again, if you need help, if you want leads, if you're trying to figure this out, I'm offering that 45-minute coaching session. So that way you can sit down, you can figure out where you're at, you can figure out what to do, how to do. Gussie Temple here, what's up? Go to joinmyleadershipnetwork.com. Underneath the video, it says join. Click that. Fill out a profile. You don't have to buy anything. Fill out a profile. I'll get an email, and we'll set up a time to talk, walk you through this, figure out where you're at, what you're doing, and we'll help you out. So with that being said.
Yep. So again, this will be uploaded to YouTube, and also feel free to go follow us on TikTok and Instagram for My Leadership Network. And you're going to also get a lot of trainings on there as well. So with that, that is what we have for you today. We will see you tomorrow at 12. And yeah, we'll see you then.